All right, so I'm gonna be installing this K&K pickup into this Octave Mandolin before it ships out this week. I save it for the last step. In the past, I would install it during the build process, but I quickly learned that just with the sanding, final carving, all those vibrations just kind of knocked it loose. So now it's just the last thing I do, aside from the final string height and action setup. So things you'll need, I have a pair of hemostats. You could use tweezers. You need a guide wire of some sort. I use like an old guitar string or mandolin string. This is, I think, like a 24 gauge string. I would avoid like a super heavy gauge. So I'll show you the reason why shortly. You need the pickup. And then I think it's helpful to have this, the digital calipers. And then I always like to have a nice, clean, designated workspace. So in this case, it's a nice, clean towel. It just kind of creates a nice visual barrier for me of where everything will be and where the instrument will be. So first thing, I've already done this, but I drilled a hole through the tail block. I like to have the pickup kind of facing at an angle towards the ground. That way, if somebody's playing and it knocks something, it's not going to be perpendicular to the ground, or not perpendicular, but parallel to the ground, and so it's going to be less of trauma to the tail block if it does get nicked. So I think it's good to just have it angled towards the ground. So I've drilled the hole. It ends up being about a 1/2 inch hole that works. Maybe a little less if you have a drill bit. But let's check my digital calipers say that it's 11.75 millimeters for the jack itself. So you will need to know the thickness of the tail block, because you're going to need to adjust appropriately on the jack so that can hug the tail block from the outside and the inside. So what I do is I use like a super small Allen wrench, and I'll show you why. I kind of feed it into the instrument and hook it around, and once it's hooked onto the inside of the tail block, I'll have my fingers, you can't really see it, but I'll be pulling the Allen wrench, and then I'll take like a white pencil, and then I will mark about on the Allen wrench where it just comes out and is like flush with the sides. So basically that tells me the thickness that I need to adjust for the jack is from that elbow bend on the Allen wrench to that little white hash mark I made, and that should be about appropriate. And of course, for the fine tune of that, I'll use the digital calipers for. So, sure, there's a million and one ways you could go about getting that thickness, but that's the quickest, easiest way that I have figured out. So, next thing I will do, I will take the guide wire, all right, and then I have the pickup. You'll notice that there are these little holes through the top of the pickup. That's going to be key for the guide wire. That's where we're going to attach the guide wire to. I am going to feed the guide wire through the opening, and I'm going to look for it inside the instrument here so that I can see it right here. I'm going to take the hemostats, and carefully, without hitting the edge, I'm going to pull the end of the string out, or the guide wire. I'm going to take the hemostats and clamp them onto the other end of the guide wire. That way I don't pull it all the way through by accident, because that would just defeat the purpose of everything. So let me lower the camera a little bit, see if that helps. All right, so you have the pickup. I am going to feed it through one of those openings loop it around, then bend it back. Now I'm gonna grab the guide wire from the tail block and slowly and carefully lower it into the instrument. Now, sometimes it takes a few tries. I'm gonna take the hemostats. I don't know if you can really see, kind of knock it loose. And then pull it on through. All right, so you can see now the pickup is pulled on through. So for this, you could use just the hemostats to hold it and feed the washer and the nut onto the end to cap it off. I actually have this thing. It's called Jack the Gripper. It's pretty helpful. So what I'm going to do right now is use the hemostats, clamp them on the end here to be an anchor so it doesn't fall through back into the instrument. And I'm going to take the feed the washer on first, and then I'm going to put the nut on first and then the washer. Kind of have to think backwards about the order of things. And then what I'm going to do do the hemostats, and I'm actually going to clamp this end of the jack where the string is not, or the guide wire is not, and that's because I want to get rid of the guide wire. And for that, I can just snip it off because I'm also not wanting to scratch the finish, so just try to remove it. Very carefully. All right, so I'm now gonna try to not mess this up. What I'm gonna do, I have another pair of hemostats, and I've actually bent them to just have a little bit of a slight elbow, so I can now clamp them around the jack. I'm gonna take these hemostats off, and now I'm gonna put the Jack the Gripper into the 1/4 inch jack and twist it until it feels nice and snug. Now that I've jacked the gripper device on there, it's not gonna feed on through unless I just really remove the two from the Jack the Gripper from the jack. So now I can get rid of these curved hemostats, and I am going seal the deal by getting the nut unthreaded. It seems like it should be so easy. All right, there we go. Around and round it goes. I'm gonna do. So now you do not have to be scared that you're gonna lose the pickup back into the instrument. I'm gonna keep tightening it. So with Jack the Gripper, you can just hold the nut and then twist to tighten things up. I'll probably use this. All right, so it's nice and snug now. And you just kind of loosen that. That comes out. And then you have the little end piece there. And twist on around. There you go. So I'm then going to put a strap holder into the actual tail piece. Again, I don't like having the strap of the instrument kind of pulling and torquing the actual pickup. I just feel like it can create some weird tensions within the tail block and how it's attached to the soundboard backboard. It's just the way I think about it. So the next part is going to be installing the transducers onto the underside of the soundboard. In this case, this pickup has 3 transducers. I'm actually going to do that probably Tuesday, because I have to get some super glue gel, which they now recommend. It used to just be double-sided stick tape, but I'm going to do the super glue gel since that's the most recent recommendations. So so that's kind of it for now, and I'll show how I do the attaching the transducers once I have the super glue gel. All right.